say okay in a sec. Make sure okay in a sec. Test.
That snowy light puts a strange color on your face.
On who? Make sure okay in a sec.
Something new, Ken.
What's that?
I just updated to the latest version of Zoom a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
Instead of getting the box that we have to say okay, that didn't come up. What did come up was a message at the very top says this meeting is now being live streamed.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can say leave meeting or okay, and you should say okay.
Oh,
That's
Oh,
good.
I
I
see.
just
Okay,
I
so
just
it's
saw
top
that
right.
Box.
you know, and it's got a blue background. It's probably not as noticeable as the one they had before, where it kind of
Mine's a
in
black
your
background.
face,
Yeah,
you know?
it used to be a pop-up window.
Yeah, pop-up window, and it was had a kind of some red in it, so it allowed you to, you know.
Hey, there's Dick Warner. Hi, Dick. How you doing?
That's what I got. I got the old version. It worked fine.
Yeah. My recommendation on Zoom is the updates happen all the time, but sometimes, and they're usually very quick and innocuous. But what I have a tendency to do is if I haven't done it before a meeting, after I get done with a meeting, I immediately go to see if there's any updates. So that way, if you're late running to a meeting or something like that, you're not having to go through that at that whole time. So, all right, wonderful. So we've got it started. We got a few co-hosts to help with microphone if we get anything there. First off, let's go and I'll pull up the keynote. And so we've started the recording. So you'll notice here, woo, 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 it's a party, party, party. It's the 40th birthday to the Macintosh. Now, Al, do you have that link I sent you for the Computer History Museum? And if not,
Yes, I do, and I have some of that stuff included in my slide stuff. And
great.
Yeah,
because right now, starting at the Computer History Museum are many of the original guys that made the Macintosh. And the Computer History Museum is a wonderful place. It's in, what the heck? Why did this not go? There we go. The Computer History Museum is in Mountain View, California, and it is wonderful. And they have these things. I went down and listened to Tony Fadal, which is the guy that did the iPod and things like that. So, but it will be on YouTube after the fact, and it's going from 7 to 9. So these were the guys that built it, and they always have some great stories. I recommend going back, and there's also some older ones back there about the original iPhone and things like that. So we're going to go through current events and rumors. Al will bring us up to speed on that. Volunteer member announcements, tech Q&A. We kind of don't do a break. And then I'm going to have a bit of a potpourri tonight, only because recently being ill or still being ill, I have a bit of a brain fog and I've not been able to digest journaling or anything else like that. But I also, this being that I was fairly ill, I think there's some important health things that we should all prepare for, and I'm gonna make that be it. And then of course we'll have our virtual raffle at the end. So just before we get into current events, always time machine. The other thing is we've said that Sonoma is a go. It's a pretty darn good operating system now if your computer can handle it. And I know Al posted earlier about the ones that can accept it. So there again, man, when you think back, just that graphics, how revolutionary that was at that time. And the lady that developed the logos, and remember Dog Cow too. It was to tell you if you were printing a page in landscape or vertical mode. I mean, this was the breakthrough, and all the stuff that went on about it, all the secrecy and everything else. Okay, so what I'd like to do is unshare my screen, and we're going to go to Al, because he's the collator of all kinds of information, news, rumors, and he does a great job with it. And then I'll throw in some offhanded comments in there too. So Al, feel free to share your screen if you'd like, and go for it. And many of these links that he'll have will be available afterwards in the PDF. And we'll have plenty of time for Q&A.
All righty here. All right, can everybody see that? Is that good?
Well, it just says, oh, there you go. We see you're welcome to MacNexus, probably your title page.
Okay.
Oh, no, that's your wallpaper.
Well, that's just some wallpaper I had to start with here.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
I like that graphic in the upper left.
That apple, the exploding apple, is something I got created by Midjourney, an AI program.
Ah, perfect.
Yeah, pretty cool. Let me see here. Let's see here. Well, like Ken said, we welcome to this month's Apple Tech News tidbits from around the internet.
And you guys don't be afraid to ask questions. You can raise your hand or you can unmute your mic, because this is completely interactive. And if something's not clear, don't be afraid to ask.
Yeah. We should obviously start the meeting by wishing our venerable Mac a happy 40th birthday. There wouldn't be an Apple Vision Pro, and Apple wouldn't be a $1 trillion company if it weren't for the Mac that was launched on January 24th.
And there wouldn't be a MacNexus, which was launched that same year in October.
Yeah, absolutely. The Macintosh project was started originally by a guy named Jeff Raskin. He was employee number 31 in the late 70s. He was striving for a low-cost, easy-to-use machine for an average consumer. At the time, the project was supposed to use a text-based interface, if you can believe that, and not a graphic user one. And it would allow several programs to run at the same time. The Macintosh program was a parallel development to Apple's Lisa project, which was a graphic user interface. Eventually, Steve Jobs took over the Mac project and pushed Raskin and his vision of it aside, and he resigned in March of 1982.
And the Lisa was what Steve was working on, and then they were the Macintosh was over in another area, but the Lisa was going to be very expensive. And you know, and he I mean, I'm glad Steve went over to it, but it was a bit controversial and it rubbed people the wrong way. And I would think that this thing that we talked about with the Computer History Museum, they'll cover a lot of that.
Yeah. There was a lot of wrangling in the C-suite, a lot of jockeying around power struggle stuff during that era, and obviously we know how it all ends.
And they flew a pirate flag over there.
Yeah. This photo here is from January 1984. Rolling Stone photographer Norman Sith was sent to Apple and told only that this weird company of hippies or whiz kids were making computers. And then, a lot of these people here, one or two of them have been here at MacNexus. The guy in the red shirt, that's Andy Hertzfeld. He came to talk to us before, and real smart guy. I think he was involved in Mac Paint, a lot of system software, and a real graphics whiz guy. He also wrote Mac Vision, a little peripheral thing that you could print out with with your old image writer dot matrix printer and stuff. I had one of those. It was so ahead of its time for being a consumer product. It's heady days.
I'll tell you, the technology of a dot matrix or even inkjet printers is amazing.
Yeah. This photo here is from that same photo op here. That they were in a pyramid just a moment ago, and they all fell down. And Steve joined the photo there. Moment in time. A lot of baby faces. If you've seen any of the succeeding anniversaries, like the 30th and anniversary before, where I got a lot of these pictures. We're all older. We're all older.
That's great. You found that. Those
Yeah.
are both priceless.
Yeah, doing
Oh,
this,
boy.
been quite a bit of research. A lot of Andy Hertzfeld, the guy up above, the guy with the glasses. He's come to talk to us, and some familiar faces. If you know some of the guy, the other guy with glasses is Atkinson, Bill Atkinson, who wrote Hypercard and. I think Mac Wright. No, that was Randy Wigginton. He was a critical guy. The guy to the left of him, Beryl Smith, was a hardware whiz, and he was the guy. The lady in the picture up there. That's Joe. She was the head of marketing. She makes an appearance in that movie about Steve Jobs' life. Her character was like his Steve Jobs' work wife for a while, and they were. She was a mover and shaker in the marketing end of the early Macs. As we speak, like Ken said, there's a live Macintosh 40th anniversary celebration event going on, bringing together many of the key members of the original project team. The event's hosted by the Computer History Museum and will be moderated by David Pogue. Probably know David.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's great.
I love him. He
Oh,
wrote a
yeah.
whole bunch of early
And he was
manuals.
there too.
Yeah.
I mean, not there, but he was
during that
was
era.
a great journalist.
Yeah, he wrote a whole bunch of the missing manuals. After every time there was a new Apple release of a system software, he would write a missing manual, and it was filled with tidbits information that was never you couldn't find anywhere else. I met him at Macworld once. Pretty funny and articulate. And of course, he's like a tech journalist guy on the Sunday morning show and other media. He's kind of mainstream media tech journalist. Of course, at this event, supposedly there will be other insider stories of Mac in the early Apple days from key members of the original hardware, software design, marketing, and PR teams. This is
you don't have to be a member of the Computer History Museum to see any of the videos.
Yeah. Since it's
and if you're ever in Mountain View, I encourage you. It might be a 2-hour tour. You go through, it's on your own, it's self-paced, but it starts with slide rules and abacuses and ends with a self-driving car. And it goes through the gamut, and it's amazing. And I was lucky enough, a mentor of mine and a friend here that I used to ski with, that was in the semiconductor bit. And basically he worked for Fairchild Semiconductor and almost spun off to make Intel with the guys that left there, but he didn't. But anyway, he went through that whole thing, and they all big mainframe computers, but it's a really just a very casual thing. But when you go back and look at that history and what it is, it really puts into perspective where we are today versus where we were then, and the miniaturization and all that. It's very interesting.
I haven't gone, but it's certainly on my list of things I need to go check out.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they do hold events down there too. So get on their mailing list and stuff, because these featured speakers are pretty great, and you don't have to be a member.
This screenshot here is, I took it today. This is from their YouTube channel. So this event that's happening right now, I would assume is going to show up there, so we won't miss anything.
And it may be under the live link.
Yeah,
Because
yeah.
that's where
This
our
is-
video show
This
up.
is the
just so
front
you know.
page. Exactly. And so hunt around, and I'm sure if you're interested and you want to hear from, about the early history of all that stuff, they'll have some pretty compelling anecdotes. I love hearing all that stuff from the very beginning. Since our club began during those early years, like I said earlier, we've been fortunate enough to have some of the early Apple alumni like Steve Wozniak, a young Steve Wozniak there to the left, and Andy Hertzfeld there to the right. Steve Jobs viewed the creation of the original Mac as more than an exercise in hardware and software engineering, but a creation involving artistry. Since artists signed their work, on February 10th, 1982, a signing party was held, and 35 members put their names on a sheet of drafting paper that would later be used to be engraved on the hard tool that molded the plastic case. Other names would be added later as names like Steve Wozniak, Jeff Raskin, and Bud Trimble, and others. Here's a couple of shots of what they looked like from the inside of the case once it was done. If you took all the guts of it, this is what you would see in some of those early ones. I think they go up to maybe as much as the Mac Classic, I believe, was maybe after was the last one that might have had some of these. And apparently, as some of the iterations changed, some of the names also changed. But there was initially 35 in there. And then here's another.
And as I remember, that thing was manufactured in the Bay Area, wasn't it?
Yeah, I believe so. Didn't they have a factory or something that had a high degree of automation? And yeah.
And I heard something recently. Somebody read a quote. It was just yesterday, I believe, that Steve Jobs said that the back of this computer looked better than the fronts of other computers.
Yeah. He was one that was, meticulous about detail, even the locations that you don't see. He learned some of that from his father, apparently, who was one to notice little things and instill that in Steve.
Well, do you know where there was a little story about that where when Steve was young, he was adopted, but when he was young, his dad had him go paint I don't know, there was a picket fence in the backyard, but the fence. And he was really proud, and he said to his dad, "Oh, look at this. It looks, how do you think it looks? Great." And his dad went and looked over the other side, and he said, "Well, you didn't paint the other side." And so it was really stressing to him. I mean, he was stressing to him, "Hey, think about everything and do it." And following into that, when they did the original iPod, there were 3 small screws inside the iPod, and the original iPod was not designed to be taken apart at all. I mean, you had to practically break it to take it apart. But when the guys came in and they're showing it to Steve, and they had it, of course, the back was off and stuff. And he said, those screws just don't look very appealing there, and you need to really get nicer screws. And they were small. But they said, "Well, nobody will see it." And he goes, "Yeah, but you'll know it's there." And that really, I mean, that was to an OCD level where he came from. And I think we can be really proud that that's how it was.
Yeah. Yeah. We, it set the stage for the rest of his life.
I can interject. I actually went to the factory.
Oh, what do you think, Bob?
Well, I mean, I didn't get to go in. What happened, I bought my first Mac, the 2SI, in early December, the year they came out, and it wouldn't work. And local guys, there was no Apple store, anything like that in those days.
Mm-hmm.
Spent a lot of time on the phone. They decided that I had a bad motherboard. So they said, if you come down to Mountain View, we'll trade you CPUs.
Wow.
Right.
And so I
Great.
drove down there 2 days before Christmas. They gave me the directions. It was on the edge of Mountain View. And literally the gate had my name. And one of the guards got in the car with me and directed me to the right door. And we did a trade at the door. I gave them mine and they gave me a new one.
All
That's
right.
fantastic. And I should point out, if you look at Bob's screen behind him, his license plate on his vehicle is Forever Mac.
Yeah. When I was going to uh I was going to Macworld once, and they needed like I had to make up some email address, and then on the fly I just thought ALT, that's me, for Max, and I kept that forever since the early
And you still have it.
I still have it. I still have it.
ALT being his three initials.
Yeah, yeah. All right, moving on here. For
Al, I love the work you've done on this.
Yeah, it was a labor of love. A ton of research. I was coming up to the last minute here, and I've been looking at some of the stuff the last few days, but it just keeps it's a deep black hole.
Well, but it rekindles memories for you
Yeah,
too.
yeah, absolutely. There's so much out there, and it's having been around at that time. You know, sometimes there were moments where I was focused on other aspects of my life, but there was always this interest in this thread of computers and potentially what they could do in the future. And I had a passion and enthusiasm for it, and my association first with a user group called AppleSac for folks that had an Apple II machine. That's where I'd cut my teeth on initially. And then when MacNexus came into being, I joined up in 1985, and it's been a great ride.
Did AppleSac meld into MacNexus, or were they separate?
I don't
for a
believe
while?
so. They ran concurrent there for a while, but obviously the Apple II line, went away, and
Right.
and uh, the Mac was new and exciting, and a lot of interesting people. A lot of kind of inertia in the community, and it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. Every time coming to the classes and stuff, my brain would explode at the end of the night. There's so much to think about, and I back then I didn't have the free time that I have now to pursue as many things, but it was always fun, and I was happy that I
Where
was.
did AppleSac meet?
They met over at a school here off of Madison, a couple of different spots, and
Cool.
they were early enthusiasts with the Apple II machines and 80 column cards, and so there were a few members that were also members of MacNexus. A few- uh, and I haven't seen some of those folks around. It's been a long while. That was like 40 years ago.
That's great.
Yeah. Anyway, here, this here's about the Epic Games and Apple legal battle. It's completely over as the U.S. Supreme Court refuses to hear further appeals. On August 13th, 2020, Epic Games decided to implement a direct payments for Fortnite, which is their game, in an attempt to circumvent Apple's 30% App Store commission. They had signed up to pay that amount, and so Apple was not happy about then not following the terms of service. Apple then pulled the game from the App Store, and Epic Games launched what proved to be a long planned legal battle. And so they
So
both
just
sides
to,
of. Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry, go ahead.
Uh, Mostly, I think Epic has lost, but Apple didn't always get everything that it wanted. And so Apple had an appeal, and that they wanted to put in front of the Supreme Court, and Epic also did also, but it hasn't gone any further. But this whole idea of potentially having Apple changing some of their giving creating something that allows uh, these bigger uh, companies that have stuff on the App Store, like Epic does, you know, either side loading or at least some option for them to go to another. Epic would like to have their own App Store essentially, and um, but you know, they also want to have their stuff on Apple's technology. So there's a yin and yang about that, and it's not entirely resolved yet. And I'm sure
Well,
Apple has contingencies depending on what the regulatory environment's like. Go ahead, Ken.
so the backstory of this for everybody is, um, this is all about the iPhone App Store, which kind of affects the Mac App Store. But realistically, if you think back to the old model, is in the old software days when it was distributed digitally before the iPhone. First of all, the iPhone, when it first came out, didn't have an app store. I believe it was the third generation or something before you finally had an app store. Apple had its own apps, but there wasn't an app store. And Apple developed that technology because it became a great on-ramp for people to develop apps for the iPhone. And in the beginning, the majority of the apps were free and they were great. But then there was where people wanted to do more. And this was before subscriptions. And what they would do is they would charge 99 cents. And so the deal is, Apple had a blanket agreement that 30%, if it's a 99-cent app or a $49 app, Apple would take 30%. Now, that is very reasonable. And there was nothing like this at the time, because you have to think of the considerations. And I think Apple was always very fair about this. Apple processed the credit card and absorbed that probably 3% credit card fee. They hosted them on their own servers. And that's, you know, so these guys, and believe me, the early app developers went crazy because, you know, you got a 99-cent app that, you know, 30,000 people just purchased, and that's great. And, you know, it evolved, and the 30%. Now, on the other hand, there were things like, if you signed up for Netflix, let's say, which was an app, they transacted it. It's transacted with Apple, and Apple took 30% of that Netflix money. Amazon, same thing. With Amazon, what they always did is you kind of get redirected to their page in Safari. And that's fine because Apple wasn't taking any bounty from what was in Safari. But for these app developers, they would get advertised. If you got it to be a featured app in the App Store, all of a sudden you'd have a ton of apps. And you had sometimes a free version of the app and a paid one. So it was very good for these developers. And Apple created it. Nobody else had an app store or anything like this. But the other thing that Apple did, and I'm very happy they did, they curated those apps. And while that sounds like a negative, and that's where the Android people, oh my God, they won't let certain ones in. Apple made sure that these were, first of all, legitimate apps. And second of all, could not compromise your phone at all. And that's a huge deal. The fact that our phones have been safe and secure since day one is a huge deal. So there was a give and take in this. And, you know, as it's evolved, it makes more sense. And again, that's why, for instance, if you go to a book, go to Audible or something, you try to buy a book, they kick you out into Safari to do the transaction. So there were ways around it, and Apple didn't mind it. But the convenience of having it in the App Store led to more sales. So, and nobody was holding a gun to these developers' heads to tell them, oh God, you know, you could only do this. Then it kind of came to the Mac, and the Mac had certain restrictions. So many times, instead of purchasing it through the Mac App Store, if these were apps that did more things like fix your hard drives and things like that, that kind of weren't under the umbrella of it, you could always go off and get apps yourself. And if you remember back in the day, you know, internet was really young at that time, and there wasn't a lot of downloading of that. Apple is now, because of the EU, is starting to be forced to be able to do this, what's called side loading and things like that. and that's fine. And I think it's good for everybody, but it's been always looked like, oh, well, Apple is this heavy-handed person, but I so disagree with that because it's what got us to where we are. And it was fair. Nobody pushed them into this. And these developers made more money than they could ever think because it was in the App Store. And I'm welcome to any other comments on that, but that's my own personal opinion.
Yeah, I agree.
And long-winded, and I apologize for that, but it's a big deal because you never read the behind the scenes.
yeah. There's a whole bunch of regulatory stuff going on, and like you say, the EU, European Union is, their perspective is different than American regulatory agencies. So we'll see how it all plays out on a global scale. And I would assume Apple's got kind of contingency plans about what to do if they have to offer some side loading thing, and still keep their users safe and secure and all of that.
And the less convenient way is a way that has been available to app developers since before the App Store, where they actually can run an app inside of Safari and charge for it and do whatever they want. It's just not as polished and it doesn't have quite the capabilities. But like Epic, these are big game places and what they do. And these places, I mean, they make huge amounts of money and they do subscription bases and they just keep sucking people in for more. And that's fine. That's their business model and people choose to do it. But, and I think, both sides forced the issue on this. And I really think the court came up with a good decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. Good points, Ken. Absolutely. And I'm sure we'll hear more of it. This particular thing was from iMore. Previously, the Find My app on the iPhone and iPad was limited to 16 items, which meant that there was a relatively small limit on the number of items that people could find using the app. Well, however, Apple's now updated a support document that confirms that that's no longer the case. You can add up to 32 items in the Find My app, in addition to AirTag and third-party Find My network accessories in the Items tab. AirPods Max count as one. AirPods Pro first generation count as 2 items because you got a left and right. And AirPods Pro, the second generation, it counts as 3 because the case also is trackable. So you have to keep that count in mind. Of course, one of the big things this month, the Apple Store pre-orders began on January 19th for the Apple Vision Pro. Apple's its long-awaited AR and VR headset, or as Joanna Stearns of the Wall Street Journal calls it, a nerd helmet. As of now, they've sold out of the first batches, and shipping dates have now shipped to mid-March.
At how much a copy, Al?
$34.95.
I think it's $3,500, right?
Yeah, it's 34. Yeah, $3,500, and that's for the 256 gigabyte version. If you want the 512 version, it's $36.99, and there's a 1 terabyte edition that's $38.99. And they will offer you Apple Care for $4.99, and I'm sure there's a travel case which costs $199 as well. So,
and I encourage you to go to Apple's site and look at it. The demos are great. It's a pretty amazing thing.
Yeah.
Personally, for me, I wish I could find a use case for it, but I can't.
Yeah. I think
and the other thing too is very many times version 1 is not the one to get.
Yeah. This is obviously meant for not just a well-heeled, but this is an exploration of spatial computing, and this is something that the technology is so hard to do, and you have to require such deep pockets, and a willingness to go for the long game. And Apple fits the bill in all those aspects. This is obviously, this version is not for 99% of us, but it's an important stepping stone to a time on down the road when it's lighter, it's cheaper, it's more capable, and it's something you want to stick a pin in. And uh, well, they'll start to ship in some of the deliveries will begin February 2nd, and there'll be a tsunami of content generated. And I've got a couple of other slides going down here that talks a little bit about some of the other stuff here. This is what you're actually going to get in the box. It's an Apple Vision Pro, of course, a dual loop band, protective cover, but not a case. The external Apple Vision Pro battery. It comes with a light seal cushion, a polishing cloth, and a USB charging cord with your power adapter. Now, there's already third-party folks out there making cases for them and stuff like that.
Spigen makes a really nice case.
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that pop up on one of my feeds. So, there'll be a cottage industry of it. Granted, there won't, Ken, have you seen how many the pre-orders,
Well,
what that number
the
is?
only thing I know is they kind of did a early production run, and kind of it seems to be that they've greatly exceeded the sales that they thought they would get, and because it got pushed back pretty quick, and it's I mean, when it's that expensive, and they don't know, but hey, it's done well. But then again, it's the pent up demand, and then hey, will the second or third run do it? But it could be that it catches fire. But I really think there are specific use cases for it, and those will get developed because the developers haven't really been able to develop apps for this yet. And you can, instead of you having a computer screen, you can do this. You can be in your living room. But the one key difference to this, different than all the other ones out there, this one actually has a camera in it. So if you're in your house, you're looking forward at your fireplace or something like that, you're looking at it live in the screen. You're not just all blocked out. You know how these people, when they're playing the games and stuff, they only see the game. They don't see the people around them. But you'll be able to interact with the other people. And the other really amazing thing is you've got these big honking goggles on. And when the people look at you, they can see your eyes also, because there's essentially a camera inside looking at your eyes. And the huge technology with this is the fact that the latency, or in fact the delay, is very minimal, and that's the compute power, and that's what you're paying for. But there's limitations. You can have it plugged into power, or you have this battery that you put on your belt, and it's got a 2-hour battery life. They also say because of all these lenses and cameras that you're wearing, it's a bit heavy. But yeah, just do some YouTubes and look at it. It's very interesting.
I've got a couple other slides here that will put you in the right direction here.
Before you go on, Al, did you see late this afternoon, there's an article, and you'll probably see more of it tomorrow. One of the companies that scoops up tickets for concerts bought several thousand.
Really?
Vision Pros. Yeah.
Okay. I know if I saw an article about on eBay, people have them for extraordinarily overpriced numbers and stuff because there'll be a limited run of these, and it's not like you have to be fitted for these things, so I'm not sure if they'll sell them, but unknowing people will probably buy these, and they'll be screwing off to Apple to have them do all the fine tuning as far as the fitting and all that stuff.
If you need corrective lenses for up close, there is the ability to get fitted with corrective lenses.
Yeah. Apparently, I saw a link that in future generations they may be able to depending on what your eye, they'll have some way of testing what your vision is, or they'll be able to do it.
Yeah, make it
inside of-
adjustable.
Yeah, yeah. Uh, let's see, going through this, Apple's
So whoever's the first one has to let us know.
let me get through some of this link here. Apple customers wanting to buy an Apple Vision Pro may have to sit through a sales pitch, including a 25-minute in-store demonstration on how to use the headset.
Which I think is good because they're less likely to have returns if people get fitted
Yeah.
and know what they're doing.
Before the demo, a worker will scan the user's face with an app in the way that similar to setting up your Face ID. The app will tell the employee the light seal, foam cushion, and band size to which the customer's head and face There will also be a scan of the user's glasses if they wear them, so that the right prescription lenses are placed into the headset. Once gathered, the information is provided to a worker in the back room to assemble the demo unit. The employee will then explain how the customer interacts with the user interface, including using eye detection and gestures to select items, how to hold this headset, adjusting the fit dial, and using the digital crown. The employee will use an iPad to see the user's view throughout the demo. So they'll be able to give them really important feedback. After a calibration period with tracking and tapping exercises, the 25-minute demonstration actually begins.
Just have the link for you.
I'm sorry?
I just
Okay, great.
posted a link for you.
I see it now.
Oh,
Thanks.
about the ticket scoopers. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Apple has a new video that reveals far more about using the Apple Vision Pro than it's shown before. As we may recall, of course, Apple demoed the Vision Pro at Worldwide Developers Conference 2023, and it's been given selected journalists a walkthrough in person. But now it's released an almost 10-minute guided tour. It's done.
It's pretty good, and it's on Apple's side.
It's very good. It's done as if we were with someone being shown how to use Vision Pro for the first time, and it's pretty well produced videos, well done. The video is hosted by the Apple Vision Pro product manager. Her name is Alexandra McGinnis. She demonstrates a function of the Vision Pro to a man. His name is Will, who is said to have never tried it before. So it's pretty good, for without having a unit in place and to where it can give you kind of some initial feedback on what the product actually does, and
you'll see in that video the ability to display what the person using it sees is through cables and through Wi-Fi out, and so you're able to see what he sees, and it is really what it is. It's artificial.
Yeah, pretty cool. To promote the launch of the new Vision Pro, they now have a new video entitled "Making Apple Vision Pro." It's about a 1 minute 21 second short video, and it shows watchers how Apple's new spatial computing headset's built, and it's done piece by piece, and shows how it's machined, and it's a if we weren't having this recorded, I'd play it, but just check out the link, or I'll put it in the show notes. Check it out for yourself. This from Apple Insider. Apple, of course, has released iOS 17.3 and iPad OS 17.3. The most compelling feature is the stolen device protection. Stolen device protection is a feature intended to help protect user data if both the iPhone and passcode or an unlocked iPhone is taken from them. An optional security delay to alter critical information can be implemented outside of trusted locations like home or at work, preventing alterations to an Apple ID or device settings. I've got a couple more slides on down the road elaborating a little bit more about, giving some background on this, but it's probably the most compelling feature of 17.3.
And my comment on that is that well, first of all, 17.3 is great. If you decide to turn on this stolen protection, it's more critical for young people that are out around at bars and different things like that, or sharing their phone to do videos and different things like that. Because what this is to prevent is, someone, let's say someone, and I just for lack of a better way to visualize this, you're at a bar and if you go to unlock your phone with your biometrics, either your fingerprint or your Face ID, no big deal. But if you unlock your phone with your passcode, some smart individual may be videotaping or may see you do it. And as well as I do that then if they got a hold of your phone, they can get into your phone, except with stolen device protection on. But if you use the biometrics to get in, they never know what your passcode is, and that's fine. Now, I've been doing some research to find out the negatives of this and all that, and I really don't think it is. But I always look at security things like this: is it a convenience is it a convenience hit for maybe some possible security? But I think everybody needs to make their own decision on this. I think our demographic is a little less vulnerable on this. That being said, I don't really see downsides on it. I haven't enabled it on mine yet because I've been pretty well housebound for a month. But anyway, I'm looking at it more and more, and you can turn it on and off. And I think it's wonderful that Apple's implemented this quite well. And I think of this in the secondary point because there are some legal rulings about giving out your passcode and having people, having authorities be able to get into your phone. And I think the untold part about this is this may make that less vulnerable. So anyway, go ahead, Al. Thank you.
I've got a few more slides about that here in a couple of minutes here. Also here on tap here is the Mac OS release 14.3. It's a rise, of course, at the same time as iOS 17.3 and iPad OS 17.3, TV OS 17.3, and Watch OS 10.3. As usual, most of the changes occur on the iOS release, with the Mac OS being relatively minimal in comparison. Mac OS Sonoma 14.3 brings two new features. One of them is the Apple Music playlist collaboration. And the second is an expanded warranty coverage section and system settings. Though the feature changes are minor in macOS 14.3, the bulk of the alterations are behind the scenes, and such as performance improvements and bug fixes, as well as security updates.
The collaborative playlist basically allows you to share your playlist with other people, not necessarily affiliated with your Apple ID. And while they can't own the music or download it, you can. And the nice thing is you could, let's say you're getting ready to go on a road trip with a friend or something, and you want to build a road trip playlist. You guys can both add to that playlist and enjoy it when you go.
Yeah, that's cool. Of course, the Apple Watch has an update. This is 10.3. It includes a new Unity Bloom watch face to embrace the Black History Month. The Unity Apple Watch face it's a new analog face that's adorned with abstract flowers. Users can choose between a single flower or full bloom styles. When you raise your wrist, the flowers bloom and fill in. There's also a new sport band. It's black with colorful flowers spread across the band, featuring red, green, yellow hues. Each band is unique due to a special unique layering process during manufacturing. Apple's release notes also say that the update includes unspecified improvements and bug fixes.
Al, while you're on the watch, are you going to address the blood oxygen sensor?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
I got that. I should have just sent you the slide ahead of time. I apologize.
Oh, I wouldn't have had time to look at it, but thank you.
Let's see. Apple also released a tvOS 17.3. This is the third update to tvOS 17 operating system that came out last September. tvOS 17.3 comes just a month since the previous release, 17.2. And now that update brought some revamped Apple TV app, which was interesting. I liked it. As per their release notes, there are no new Apple TV features, but you shouldn't skip it. They were recommended to install just for the bug fix updates. If you're following the Apple Watch blood oxygen drama, U.S. Appeals Court rejected Apple's request to pause the Apple Watch Series 9 and Ultra 2 ban as the company appeals an ITC ruling that the Apple Watch blood oxygen sensor infringes on 2 patents held by medical device company Masimo. The company told 9 to 5 Mac that they will begin selling the Apple Watch Series 9 and Ultra 2 in the United States without the blood oxygen feature beginning January 18th. Pending the appeal,
Go ahead.
pending the appeal, Apple has taken steps to comply with the ruling while ensuring customers have access to Apple Watch with limited disruption. These steps include introducing a version of Apple Watch Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2 in the United States without the blood oxygen feature. There's no impact to Apple Watch units previously purchased that include the Apple Watch feature, the blood oxygen feature. Apple says that these watch models will still include the app, but when a user taps on it, they'll see a message reading, quote, "The blood oxygen app is no longer available. Learn more in the health app on your iPhone," unquote. When they go to the health app on their phone, they'll see a link to a support article on Apple's website. The change is done via a firmware update to the Apple Watch. The change does not impact anyone who already owns an Apple Watch with the blood oxygen features, and it also only applies in the United States. Ken, did you want to chime in?
So the idea of this is ever since the Apple Watch 6, if I'm not mistaken, or 7, so first of all, the Apple Watch SE is not affected because it never had the blood oxygen sensor. And there's all these sensors on the bottom of the phone for blood pressure. I'm sorry, for pulse rate and things like that. Well, it also does, those little things when you're in the hospital or when you're in a doctor, they put on your finger. That's called a pulse ox machine. It does your pulse, and the little light senses how much oxygenation you have in your blood. And a little tidbit to that, my friends that are veterinarians, when they put the animals out on the vets, they actually clip it on their tongue because it makes it a really good place to read that. But what it does is it uses a light that shines and can tell how oxygenated the blood is. And this kind of periodically monitors it on your wrist. And then you can also tap it and have it give you the result then. And while I was suffering this malady that we didn't know what it was, anything like that, I would constantly check it. My blood oxygen was good. But ironically, when I was in the hospital both times for this, they put the tape one that they put on my finger, and I'd never seen it before. And of course, the brand Massimo was on the tape that they put on my finger. And I'm going, oh my God, these are the ones doing it. And really what it is Massimo developed this technology, and it sounds like they couldn't come to an agreement with Apple as far as authorizing the use of it for the patents. It's been going on for a while, and I think finally they came to an impasse. So realistically, if you already own an Apple Watch, nothing will change. If you buy an Apple Watch now, if this gets settled, they can re-enable simply through an update to make the blood oxygen work again. And this only affects the 7, 8, 9, and Ultra. And it's not a huge deal, but it's a deal, and it's a nice tool, and it works into your whole health app and does your things. But that's really what it comes down to. And it's not often does Apple lose because they have good lawyers, but Apple's also known to be fairly notorious about trying to stretch when they talk to people about things. So anyway, I think Roy has a hand up.
Yeah, I was just going to say that I like the fact that I can still monitor my blood oxygen.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And they didn't drop that off yet.
If you already have it, you're not going to
It-
lose it.
yeah, you're not going to lose it because you were before the ban was in place. They could reach back in and
Yeah, they
disable
could.
it, but that's not part of the agreement that the court did.
Yeah. Well, I don't trust judges, so I mean, or attorneys being one. So
Yeah, but I think there would be it because they didn't do it in this and they weren't really ever asking for that. I think it's the fact that they had to go through channels and then do a cease and desist and go from there. So
It'll be interesting to see what the when they release the next generation of watches, how they get around this, whether they're gonna come up with some alternate method that doesn't violate any of the Massimo patents, or they'll just abandon it.
and the beauty of it is, it's for instance like your pulse monitor. So the newer watches have the EKG on them, where you put your finger on the crown there to do an EKG. Well, the amount of data Apple has gained from that, they actually now, just through the heart rate, the beats per minute of the one on the bottom, that it doesn't use the electrical things, they've been able to warn people that they might be an AFib without using the EKG. So all of this medical stuff is, the watch can gather so much data, and that can really, it's helping in medical ways in such great strides, because the more data you have, the more you can tell what anomalies mean things. So, and the holy grail of this is, and there are some blood glucose things out there
Yeah, that's
that
a
work
tick.
beneath the skin, and that's been the one Apple's been working on for a long time. It sounds like they're getting close, and they would use the perspiration on the skin, but
Yeah.
because otherwise everything else has to be intrusive, because it has to go into your
Yeah.
underneath the skin.
If they get that, like you said, it's the holy grail, and I would assume that probably health insurance companies will wind up, allowing you to, they'll buy one for you or something. The
Well,
ability,
and there are some places and things where insurance does pay for an Apple Watch now for monitoring and things like that.
yeah, yeah. I'm hoping I'm one of the millions of people that has an issue with blood sugar levels, and being able to monitor it and get feedback about the meal you just had, and with that information you can decide to make better choices, and certainly impacts your health in a significant way.
Yep.
Okay, in a related story about the Apple's blood oxygen detector, an Apple Watch user named Joseph reached out to Apple CEO Tim Cook with this incredible story of using an Apple Watch blood oxygen detection in a crisis situation. He shared his story and Cook's response in an email to Apple Insider. Apparently, Joseph's 14-year-old son developed acute altitude sickness while at 14,000 feet in Peru, which can quickly turn lethal if not monitored. Thankfully, he had an Apple Watch and could monitor his son's blood oxygen levels through the night until help could arrive. So this is certainly one instance, like so many, where having a device that can, monitor these kinds of things, it's help this young man's life. So it's important. I
And
hate to
just so
lose
you
it.
know, altitude sickness is not just the part that where you're up at altitude, and of course there's less oxygen per liter of air, but the blood gases in your body change because of the altitude sickness, and you can't metabolize that as well. So pretty interesting.
Yeah, yeah. This is circling around to that whole stolen device protection. Last year, Joanna Stern and Nicole Nguyen from the Wall Street Journal wrote an article about a new kind of crime that we were talking about, using a pretty low-tech trick thieves watch iPhone users tap their passcodes, and then they steal their targets' phones and pretty much disrupt their digital lives. The iPhone and its passcode, and with an iPhone and its passcode, an interloper can, within seconds, change the password associated with the iPhone owner's Apple ID. This would lock the victim out of their account, which includes anything stored in iCloud. The thief can also loot the phone's financial apps, since the passcode can unlock access to all devices' stored passwords. After watching the 9-minute video, my wife and I are taking some of its recommendations to heart. I would highly recommend everyone sit through this, and it'll probably scare you what potentially could be done. Ken's right. This is probably not so important to this demographic, but if you go out and go to a restaurant and you put your phone on the table, to check for messages or whatever, and if it's within reach of other people, you just never know. So and also if you when you sit through her video and stuff, she goes through all these different permutations about having a thief having control of it, and she interviews this one woman that had it happen to her, and they were able to empty out her bank accounts to the tune of tens of thousands of dollars. It was pretty dreadful. And even things like a lot of times we take photographs of different documentation just for reference purposes, and that winds up in they can be seen. In the past, just because it was convenient, I'd take a photograph of a critical document or something. Well, I'm not doing that anymore. I went through I'm in the process of going through my 250,000 photos and extracting anything that has anything, any information that could be compromising. And there is a function on the Apple Photos app where you can make them hidden, and so that's one way to do it, or just jettison it and put them in anything. It's important, put it in a secondary password manager. This is some of her recommendations and stuff, but I would certainly recommend everyone go see it. And it's only 9 minutes long, so it's not too long. So that's my.
And at this point, I don't see negatives to this. I'm going to research it some more, but remember, you could always turn it back off if you want. So, it's more than just the phone. It's, again, the Apple ID and everything else.
Yep.
So
It's the key to the kingdom.
and Apple doesn't, they're looking out for us. They're not trying to make things worse or more inconvenient, but I do. Yeah. In fact, I'll probably do it tomorrow. I'll probably turn on the new feature because I think it's worthwhile. I don't see any downsides. I see lots of ups.
Yeah.
Elaine has a question.
Yeah, if I do absolutely no banking on my phone, I like do it all on my laptop, can they still access my banking information and stuff?
Well, good question. That doesn't have any relation to this because this is just getting into the phone. But once they're in the phone, if you have a banking app, they could get in there and things. But the same is on your computer. Now, generally speaking, your computer is probably on Wi-Fi.
Yeah.
Your phone can be on Wi-Fi or on cellular. And the big deal is, if you're going to have to transact anything, the best way, the most secure way to do it is turning off Wi-Fi in your phone and doing it over cellular. Because that's inherently much safer. I would not worry about it. Do it all the time. But it's the other big thing is your Apple ID account, because there's a lot of things attached to that, a lot of information. But I have to tell you, the change, and you may have noticed it, and I didn't even have this on the notes for tonight, but for instance, when I signed into Amazon the other day, I went, why is it asking for my password? It never asked for it. Well, it asked me to use what's called passkey. And passkey will work on any of your Apple devices. And instead of using a password, which has to be stored on their end, and they have to say that it's legal, okay, it's good, you use a passkey. And that's where your Apple device becomes the trusted device. In other words, when I go to Amazon now with my iPhone, it knows it's somebody's iPhone and it's already been approved to use on my account. And it doesn't pass along any of my information other than it says, this is the trusted device. So for that to utilize that trusted device, it uses my biometrics, which is either my Face ID or my Touch ID or my passcode. And the beauty of this is no longer are you using your passcode, or I'm sorry, your password at that site, and the chance of it getting compromised are much less. So that'll be popping up more and more now. And I started talking about this 2 years ago, and it's finally coming to fruition. So the banking thing is, if you don't have a business account, now business accounts are travel. So the way that the banking laws work, credit card and banks. Now this does not apply to financial, like stock trading sites and things like that. All of those sites, you should definitely have at least two-factor authentication set up on. That's huge. But if it's a personal account and not a business account, you are not liable. And this is banks and credit cards, not not stock institutions. You are not liable for anything unless they can prove you were negligent. Therefore, the other hand is, if it's a business account, many banks take the same stance, but by law, they're only responsible unless you can prove you weren't negligent. So that's kind of how that happens. And that's a business credit card versus a personal credit card. But while that's the law, I think most of the banks handle it the right way. And, they have great protections in theirs. And it's a whole nother reason to use Apple Pay, where your credit card number is never transmitted and things like that. But yeah, it's a difficult thing on the banking, but to be honest, it's really, yeah, you're on Apple devices. Make sure you use Safari. And the other thing is, on the iPhone and the iPad, use the apps from the institution because they're inherently better encrypted. Good question, though.
Moving on here, and along the same vein here, following up on the Wall Street Journal article, Joanna Stern sat down with a convicted thief who was part of a ring in Minneapolis in a high security prison to find out how it was done and how you can protect yourself. It's also it's a good video, pretty thoughtful, and this guy was and this ring of people, they were able to get $300,000 worth of monetary stuff from folks. They were able to, after they had looted all of their accounts that they could, and they would just sell the phone. Once you have the Apple ID and you wipe it, they just sold the phone. So they so it's worth viewing as well.
I have to say, though, please view it with a jaundiced eye. And now Joanna Stern is great. She's very techy. She does great reporting. And these all lead to the next slide he has, is why to use stolen device protection. And it's just like everything else. If you think about it, and as we used to say in hockey, keep your head on a swivel and think about where you are and stuff. This is so unlikely to happen. But if you think about how cavalier the millennials are about many things like this, we don't act that way. And some paranoia is good, but please, you guys, do not paralyze yourself and be afraid because of this stuff, because it's very rare and you're on an Apple device. And I would be willing to bet that no one in our organization has had it happen.
Yeah. Information is power. So be advised of it's never bad to be a bit prudent. Anyway, this particular link here, obviously from Apple Insider, gives a little primer on the stolen device protection feature in iOS 17.3. And we've gone through what it does. Essentially, it prevents the total loss of an Apple ID if a phone and passcode are stolen. And here's tells you how to set it up, and worthwhile. So the link will be in the chat.
Great.
Okay, and finally, tonight on Friday, January 6th, a door plug used for emergency exiting unexpectedly blew out of Alaska Airlines Flight 1282 just minutes after takeoff over Portland, Oregon. Per its investigation, the National Transportation Safety Board called on the public to help locate the missing door plug and other items that may have been thrown out of the plane. While searching for the missing door plug, a resident stumbled upon an intact iPhone on the side of the road and soon discovered that it actually belonged to a passenger on the plane. The finder, Sean Bates, was part of the search efforts when he came across what appeared to be a lost iPhone lying under a bush on the side of the road. He noted when he picked it up, the device was pretty clean with no scratches on it. At first, Bates thought someone might have dropped it or jogging or maybe it was thrown from a moving car. But when he noticed it had a battery and no passcode, he unlocked it and saw a baggage claim confirmation email from Alaska Airlines Flight 1282. Bates posted a video to Twitter or X describing his find. Quote, for an iPhone that got spontaneously egressed while charging. I'll show you some other images here.
Well, wait, before you go to the next screen, here's the part that bites for the guy is it shows that it's his baggage receipt. He had 2 bags and he had to pay $70. I would be willing to bet that he got refunded from Alaska Airlines the fees he paid for his baggage there.
I hope so. I hope so. According to Sean Bates, it still had remnants of the charger plug. The NTSB confirmed.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah, look at that. It when he said it got egressed out, he was not kidding. The NTSB confirmed that the phone did come from a passenger on board Alaska Airlines flight. The NTSB staffer told Bates that this was the second phone found. Needless to say, this is one heck of a drop test. All the links generated tonight, and more will be published in the PDF by Bob White in his normal MacNexus email blast. I'll post it sooner on our Facebook page. I encourage everyone to go to our Facebook page. It's a great forum for late-breaking curated Apple tech news and support. We encourage everyone to come check it out.
Al, thank you very much. He spent a lot of time on this and a lot of research, and he also always, I used to go through all these articles and everything. Now I just go to our Facebook page and Al is always putting stuff up there. So go to Guru and Al, I can't thank you enough. And then the best part is links on all of this stuff are available afterwards.
Yeah. So much of this stuff requires
the value of that is priceless. So
And
thank you.
Ken, Joellen had a comment in the chat. She wanted to know how to add questions to the purple map.
Well, so that would be an email it'll be on the email you get from Bob in the blast. But if she wants to do it today, we're going to go to Q&A right now so she can ask it live. So whichever way you want, Joellen. All right, I'm going to go bring the keynote up because I'm going to go through a couple of things, and then we'll do tech Q&A to finish up first, and then we'll go to first volunteer, and again that was current events and rumors. Al and I made mention earlier the rumored Apple car is now kind of resurfaced because there was some turmoil within Apple of, hey, either make the car or don't, and blah, blah, blah. So now they've said we might see an Apple car by 2028. So please don't wait on your buying decisions on the car, but
Not anytime soon.
I'm sorry.
Don't wait anytime soon. Don't expect to see it anytime soon.
Yeah.
4 years is a lifetime.
So do we have any volunteer or member announcements? This would be the time if anybody wants to bring them up. And then we'll do tech Q&A, which can be any type of questions. All right. Not seeing any. Joellen, did you have a question you want to submit for later for the Mac, or would you like to ask it now?
Well, I'll try asking it now. This is something Melissa Green and I were working on a little bit. I have a what's it called? An M1 MacBook Pro. And I've discovered I don't have a search capacity in the in Mail. I cannot search for a person's name in Mail, and I can't seem to add that. This is one of these things with the touch screen, touch tone, touch.
No. But so fire up. Do you have Mail fired up?
Yeah.
And do you have a menu bar across the right-hand side that says get mail, new message, etc.?
Hold on a sec. I'm trying to go there. Oh, shoot.
Well, in fact, I'll display my screen, and this is something that's been there for a while. So let me just display my screen, and I'll drag my mail over. So if you look here, and
sorry, I was looking at my mail now.
Yeah, and I actually want to put, is my Zoom window, are you guys seeing my Zoom window moving around?
Yeah.
Okay, I want to cover things because Apple or Google took down one of our old videos from like 2016 or something because I displayed information. So let me just put this in front like that. Anyway. Okay, so here is Apple Mail, and you see the thing across the top. In the far right corner, do you see the magnifying glass that says search?
No, that's the problem.
Ken,
What?
this is Melissa. What computer are you on?
I'm on an M1 MacBook Pro.
MacBook Pro.
Running Sonoma,
okay.
and this is so.
Joellen?
Yeah.
What is your MacBook?
It's an M1 MacBook Pro. Do you have the touch screen thing instead of the function keys, Ken?
Oh, you have the touch bar.
Yeah, that's the issue.
Oh.
And Ken, you realize you're still showing the British car specialist.
That's okay. That's not anything that's a big deal. It's just the email, but thank you. So have you tried to broaden your screen all the way to the right?
We even tried customizing the toolbar.
Well, now do you also have these two little chevrons that I show right here too?
Okay, I can't look at your screen and my screen at the same time, unfortunately.
Well, you can Command Tab and switch back and forth to zoom in that.
Command Tab.
If you want to display your screen on we can do that, or let's say, I don't know that many other people are having this issue, so
it's
if you want to
probably
wait till
not
the end, I'd be
common.
happy to see if I can find it out for you. Does that make sense?
Yeah, sure. Thank you.
Great.
It's the
It'll
touch
probably-
bar. It's the touch
bar issue.
whatever that's screwing things up.
Well, yeah, and that's what I'm thinking, and it could be weird. And are you running Sonoma?
Can't remember whether I've
Okay,
updated
let's
this
just address that later
Yeah.
because
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
yeah, and I might be something on there, but that's too bad. And actually, wait a minute. Let me look at something. Because if you want to get the search should come up if you do. Well, let me just try it here.
What they
Yeah,
say is you have to
hit
just
Command F.
use-
Hit Command F and type in.
Oh, golly, that's so
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah, and by the way,
Tell me that when I-
that's another great trick. If you're in Safari and you're on this long web page and you want to see where a certain word might be in it, Command F searches within that page, and then it'll highlight and show you where they all are. So Command F will work virtually anytime. Okay,
I'll work on that.
you'll get that down to be very quick and easy.
It looks like it would search within the email that is open.
No, try it. It searches the whole thing, I think.
Well, that's what I just did, and
Okay, well, we'll address
Okay,
this
but
later because
it's
you're
not something that
the
would
only
improve-
one in the world with this problem.
yeah, thanks.
Lisa, go right ahead. You were muted there still, I think, Lisa. You're
Sorry
still
about that. We have an entry or a picture up with Sykes family, but I don't have a listing for that name. So could whoever is showing as Sykes family, please put in there?
Yeah, are you a member? And if so, because we want to include you in the raffle. So feel free to unmute yourself and tell us, and we can get you squared away, the Sykes family. And if you're not a member, it's fine. You're welcome to be here. And we always say, come and try a few of the meetings if you want to become a member. And then you also can participate in the raffle. So don't.
Don McBride.
Oh,
Oh,
it's Don McBride. Okay. Thanks, Don.
thank you. Thank you very much.
Bev, go right ahead.
Yeah, this is so basic. I almost am embarrassed to ask.
Yeah, but
there
about
was-
12 other people want to know the answer too.
Well, it's with the Apple TV thingy. There was an app to be updated. How does one update that? I rarely touch my Apple TV.
A certain
control.
app needed an update. It's just, yeah, I
Well,
think
the
you go
machine,
in.
the Apple
Yeah, there's,
TV.
it's in settings
But how do
and
I get
then-
the settings?
on your Apple TV.
Well, yeah, I never
You
go
go to
into
the main
settings on the
menu,
TV.
you go to the main menu and go to settings, and then you go to, I think it's software update or system update.
Well, that's why I say it's a little awkward to ask this question. How do you even get to the main menu?
With
'Cause
the
I never go
remote,
there.
if on the remote, you don't get the page that has all the apps in front.
Well, I never touch the remote.
What do you use out? So what do you do with Apple TV?
I have this automatic controller that seems to do most everything.
Oh, like a Harmony device or something like that. Well, if you go to what's the screen that does menu or keep tapping back, you should get to the main screen, and then the gear, just like in system preferences, and go to there. But if
So,
not,
like-
go get your Apple remote, charge it up, and use it.
Yeah, so you just push the home machine on the Apple remote
No, you
with the
hit
TV's open.
menu. You hit menu and keep going
Menu.
back.
Okay, well, I'll play with
And
that.
if you go one more back, then you get the really cool screensaver.
Okay.
Lisa, go ahead.
Sorry, we've solved one mystery and another one popped up. Thomas's iPad. Give us a hint.
Thomas who?
Yeah.
Go ahead and unmute yourself if you want, or change your name. Thank you. While we're doing that, Darian, go right ahead.
Thank you. I am embarrassed to say I have lost 2 iPhones in the last month, and they're both somewhere in my house. I've been trying to use Find My to find it, but the Find My seems to have a low resolution as to where. One minute it's in the backyard, another minute it's in the living room, then it's in my neighbor's house.
Do you have an Apple Watch?
No Apple Watch. It's
Okay.
my laptop.
Have
looking.
you gone into the Find Me and used the play sound?
I did, and it didn't. It said something
And does
about,
it show you still have battery life left?
oh, I haven't checked that, but when it didn't make sound, that was while it was fairly new to the world and should have made sound, but it said something about trying to find a connection.
Wow. And they can find one that fell out of the plane, but she can't find hers. That's tough. And it's been about a week, so your battery's probably dead. So
Yep.
I would get a metal detector.
Oh,
Seat cushions, seat cushions.
yeah, I checked.
And the other thing is between the seats in a car.
Well, it's in the house. It never left the house, but I will double check, and actually a metal detector will help find
Do you
it.
have any cats or dogs?
I have a cat.
So next time, spread whatever the cat likes on the phone while you're using it, and just you know.
Lassie, find the phone.
Wow. You know what? There's no digital way to help you at this point. You're in the analog world, and good luck. Sometimes it should even show last location, and I go by that. But see, the problem is that if you're on Wi-Fi, it's only going to be a broad area, and that's where then the sound kind of helps. And by the way, if your phone is on silent, when you play the sound in the lost mode, it will still make a sound.
Well,
Sorry, good luck though.
Yep. Okay.
Randy, go right ahead.
Yeah, this refers back to the Apple TV. Love the Apple TV. Let me get to the question first and I'll give you background. Which specific television brands, the actual TV brands, work the best with Apple products? The background is I have a Sony Bravia TV, beautiful color picture, everything works, but it would turn off randomly when I had Apple TV on. So I went in, found that, oh yeah, just go and undo on the TV, the television, not Apple TV, but on the Sony, just undo the Bravia sync. Okay, it works. Everything works fine, but the Sony seems to be so aligned with the Google world. The sound bar, I have a Bose sound bar.
That's its built-in operating system is why. But the other thing I would think of is what happens on, so you have generally your HDMI 1 is got some capabilities that keep it powered. Is your Apple TV plugged into the HDMI 1 or a different one?
Oh, I believe it's number 1 and Wave is on number 4.
And does this happen on Wave?
Yeah, nothing syncs anymore because I deliberately turned it off. But
it all works. The screen goes to sleep, right?
It did.
It doesn't think anything's connected.
It did. It doesn't. It stays on now. I mean, it's fixed. I've got a remedy, but I have to go through 3 remotes. One for the TV, one for the Apple TV, one for the sound bar. And it all works perfect. But I'm just wondering, is there, for my next television purchase, what TV brand works best in the Apple universe? And I'm open to suggestions.
So the first and foremost way is to use the Apple TV box and go to HDMI. Yours is kind of a unique thing because of the sound bar and the outputs and all that. But there are many TVs that support Apple TV built in. But that being said, the interface on the Apple TV box is going to be better than on a smart TV, but look for Apple TV. Anybody else have any input on that with AV? Because to be honest, I hardly ever use my TV anymore. I do everything on my iPad.
Yeah. I have a nice 4K LG. It's just this trend towards TV manufacturers wanting to direct you to use their interface. Some of the modern TVs will have, they'll have their own apps or the ability to put apps and stuff on, and typically their interfaces are atrocious. And so, I go through the whole remote hell. I'm sympathetic there, Randy. Every time I have to go through their interface to bring up my Apple TV. It's just something. I hate the term smart TV. Give me a high resolution dumb TV. Let me provide the front end. And so that would make my world a whole lot better. But I would suggest just shop the specs that you that you know that appeal to you, and the size and stuff. And
How old is the Bravia?
Probably a 2015. So it's
probably
we're
not
super
4K.
bigger.
So the reason that all of our devices, and you sometimes get that thing on your computer that the disk is been ejected and things like that, is so these devices can meet Energy Star requirements.
Yeah.
So they can put that little Energy Star logo on them, and it makes it shoots all this other stuff from happening. But I really think that there is, generally speaking, on any TV, there's the one, and I forget what it is. It's ANY or something like that.
Oh,
It's
ARC?
the proprietary, huh?
ARC, the radio audio.
Yeah,
radio.
and that one is the one that's the main one, and I believe that that would be the one to help keep the TV awake. So,
And Randy, I have a Samsung. I have two Samsungs, and the newer one I can use the Apple TV, but the older one it won't. So all you have to do, I mean, what I did is I Googled Apple TV and my TV model, and it'll tell you if it works or not. So before you buy next one,
Yeah.
I found out the hard way too, Randy. So
Thank you, Mary.
I would
Thank
also
you.
recommend that, whatever you wind up getting when you start shopping brands, if you got something that has that's AirPlay capable, so
yeah,
you can just fling
AirPlay
stuff
2, I believe.
AirPlay 2, that'd be a feature set that I'd have to have if I was making a buying decision.
AirPlay's much simpler to use than the devices.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, Barbara, go right ahead. And then Don, you'll be next. Unmute yourself, Barbara. Oh, you are? Go ahead, Barbara.
And let's look on my laptop. Is there a way on the computer to create what used to be called in the PC world a macro? So like if you are typing something over and over again, you can set it up so that you only have to do it.
Absolutely.
What is it?
All right. I'll show you. And believe it or not, if you do it on the Mac, it goes to your iPhone and everything else. It's called keyboard shortcuts. So let me share the screen again. And I will fire up preferences, or settings is the new one. Let me hit hide all others. There we go. Okay, so, and you want to go to keyboard. And of course, they probably changed it here on this. There we go. Keyboard.
Okay.
Keyboard. Oh no, text replacements. Okay.
Okay.
And when I click test replacements, like for instance, here's my street address. So if I type 1960 and then a space, it does my whole address.
Uh-huh.
So like for when I do things where, you have the Apple logo, which is a special key combination. If I type AAH, it shows up Apple Home. I have some I used to do these things where I would go to the DMV and I would replenish the forms in it. So if I typed RFO, it would say replenished forms right, tested, etc. And and then this syncs with your other devices.
So how do you set one of those up?
I was just going to show you. So you hit the plus sign.
Okay.
And you say replace, and this is where you choose the character. Now, remember, don't say address or something like that, because if you're typing address, it would fill in your address. So you want it to be a series of characters or numbers that you're not likely to use, because you don't want to have 12 different letters here in a row, that you're unlikely to use when you're spelling a word. And you type this in, like say XXWTY. You're never going to do that. So then you could say replace with, and you put in the entire sentence just as you want it to type it. And then you hit add, and that goes into
Okay.
this library. And then the next time I would type XXWTY, it will fill it with everything I have here.
Great.
Edit.
It's a wonderful tool. Great question. Let me go back and go to Zoom. And all right. So Don McBride, and then I have some questions from the Purple Mac.
Yeah, I've got had been using Evernote, and I've got 1,000 notes in Evernote. And they've got some new company taking it over, and you got to pay more money. And I've looked in there. I want to convert. I've been converting one-to-one to the Apple Notes, but I found a couple of conversion programs. But it seems like now, since I didn't pay the money, I can't access Evernote on my Mac. I just wondered if anybody had ever found a way to convert Evernote to MacNotes without doing them one at a time.
Right. I haven't. Anybody else?
Nope.
I almost embraced Evernote, and then I got, I just kind of.
Yeah, they got bought out by an Italian company, and they kind of have been gone downhill. As I recall, I think they're laying off staff, and so I think I would migrate to something else, and I'm
Oh,
sympathetic.
and Apple Notes has become so robust, but yeah, Don. I mean, how many more? Do you still have a lot of Evernotes left?
Over 1,000.
Wow.
Can you export them as a PDF or anything else?
I'll have to look.
And I'm sure there's, you're not the only one in that box. So some good Googling might help. But
Yeah.
if you can get it in some other format that's a little more generic, and then bring it in. But
Yeah.
or if the Evernote, if it was a matter of just subscribing for a month or something, I feel your pain. Luckily, I don't experience it.
Yeah. Okay, thanks.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We have a couple Purple Mac questions. Keith McBain is online, and he is inquiring about using an iPhone mounted to his front windshield when he travels through parks and things to make it be like a dash cam. And I have to tell you, years ago, I envisioned making the iPhone into an actual dash cam. And I thought that was my road to riches. And luckily I didn't pursue it, because within 18 months, there was some of them out there. Now that's a regular car dash cam where you're looking for wrecks and things like that. But he wants to be able to take, and Keith, are you primarily looking to do single shots or videos? And you're muted.
I'm primarily talking about videos.
Okay.
To replace a GoPro that I have mounted on the dash now, but I think the iPhone might work better.
I agree. And the file size would be quite large, but you can always let it go each night. So, so once it's up on your screen, it's simple to press the button to start it. And I know you were talking about that, but you should also be able to use Siri or create a Siri, what's called a Siri shortcut. And you ask about switching to the lenses. So I would encourage you to go into search accessibility and the iPhone, because there's the ability to use the iPhone camera. And I've done demonstrations on this with I've done videos on it, where you simply use your voice, and a thing comes up, and you would essentially use your voice, and you would say, tap that button or do this and focus there. So look up accessibility features in Photos, and you would have to go into the accessibility, but I know it's there. But I would try Siri first and see what you can do. And then to keep the camera app on, is yours a Touch ID phone or a Face ID phone? Do you
I'm
use
not
your
sure
fingerprint?
Pardon?
Do you use your fingerprint to unlock it, or does it see your face?
It's usually a face, but that I usually just enter a passcode when I want turn the iPhone on.
Okay, well, what I'm thinking is to keep it on, so before you're going to do these videos, Keith, you can go in and adjust your what's called sleep settings.
Okay.
And if you go into settings, display and brightness, let me get there.
And then
it's
hit
called,
never.
well, yes, you had auto lock. On auto lock, change it to never. And then what I would do is at the same time, make a reminder to turn that off because you'll kill your battery life. And I would encourage you to make sure you have it plugged in while you're doing all of these.
Yeah, I can plug it into a cigarette lighter charging plug while I'm driving. That's not a problem.
Sure.
I just
And the
didn't
other
like
thing
the idea
is-
of reaching up to the dash to push the iPhone buttons while I'm driving.
No, I agree. I think Siri and accessibility. The other thing you can try is if you have any of the headphones that plug into the you don't have a headphone jack anymore on yours, I don't think. So
Correct,
if you
yeah.
get the headphones that have the lightning port on them,
Mm.
the volume up button many time triggers the camera. And if you're in video mode, I would check to see if it starts the video for you.
Okay. Al Trivet sent me a link to a YouTube for something. I haven't had time to look at it yet, so I don't know whether that will answer those questions or not.
Take a look at it. There's one link, I think, when you sent the purple Mac question out email wise, I looked at it and I responded back to you. So
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
I got the response. I haven't had time to look up the
Okay.
YouTube. So thank you for doing that.
You bet. You bet. Check it out and see if something in there works for you.
And the nice thing is just like the GoPro, video on the iPhone has this anti-shake kind of capability so that it will smooth it out dramatically for you.
Yeah. And I don't have a problem with the amount of memory it uses because I can download the thing to a laptop every night or every evening or whatever it is.
Absolutely.
So
okay.
Thank you for the tips.
You bet. Barbara asked some great questions here. So first of all, and I believe it was Royce that brought it up earlier. Oh, Randy, go ahead. You're muted.
Thanks. Before the meeting, Purple Box or Purple Mac question, it was an email question and it had to do with cannot connect to the outgoing mail server for SMTP. My wife's email address at hotmail.com at smtp.live.com. Mail can try to repair these settings, and then it's just kind of
sure.
Yeah, but I'm just wondering, I don't want to lose anything that's on Elaine's Hotmail account, but my thought was everything is stored at live.com and I can go through the internet, Safari or Chrome to get to live.com. Is it okay to just remove from the Apple app on her devices and then reset up Hotmail without losing the email?
Sure. And is she on a Mac too, or she's on just iPhone? And
She's
iPad?
iPhone and an iPad Air.
Okay. So the SMTP can probably be repaired. And what SMTP is the outgoing mail. And outgoing mail, for some reason, the password may be off. So the accounts on that are not likely stored on the phone. On the computer, they might be, but they're not likely stored on the phone. So by deleting the account and then re-adding the account, simply says, take me off the account, put me back on the account. And that's a great way to do it, unless you can go into your settings. And many times you can drill down into settings and go back into accounts in Mail and adjust that password in there but it may be some other kind of authentication. Does she use Hotmail as her primary email?
Yes and no.
Yes or no?
Because she's had issues with Hotmail, so she actually
Yeah,
has a
garbage.
Gmail.
It's
She
garbage.
does,
So is Yahoo. So is SBC
yeah,
Global. So is AT&T. Get rid of those.
she's
Now,
preferred
keep
Gmail.
them over there. Okay, the fact that she has a Gmail going forward, it's great. Okay,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's yeah. I mean, it is what it is. So, but I would say deleting the account and reading it at should not delete anything on the server. But that being said, hey, you know, stranger things have happened, but I really don't think so.
Right.
Okay, questions from Barbara here. Oh, actually, go back to one earlier that Don had asked about is, I got this check in the mail, and it's the Apple settlement check. And we're so programmed that things might be scams. Those are not. I hate class action lawsuits. I'd rather give this money back to Apple, but they don't need it. So I'll buy more. I'll buy more Apple stock with the check. That's what I'll do. In fact, the check I can get a half a share. Or no, yeah, half a share because we're around 200. Apple's been going crazy. But what this is this dates back to a class action lawsuit, which is where the lawyers make all the money.
Talked about how I
And-
set my iPhone up to do videos. And
What, Keith? Keith, we need to mute you.
I'm muting myself.
Gotcha. So the Apple did the right thing, but it was perceived to be the wrong thing. When the batteries started to degrade, batteries degrade. 2-year-old battery, you're going to have maybe 80% of what you normally would have had. Well, the phone's first job is to the phone's first job at all is to last all the day and be able to make phone calls and receive phone calls because it's kind of like an emergency situation. So what they would do is they would say, well, for this phone to last all day, we're going to have to slow the processor down. And by slowing the processor down, you get more battery life. Well, people that think they know better think they should have had an option to be able to do that instead. Well, they didn't. And so this big rigmarole. So if you have a newer iPhone and you had it during this certain period, you may get 1, 2, or even 3 checks if you had a lot of iPhones for $95 or $94.17. I got 2 of those, and I got one that's smaller because I think it was an older phone and it may not have been impacted in that entire length. So it is legit. You can go ahead and do whatever you want with that phone. If you don't like class action lawsuits, buy something Apple with it, because we all will anyway. But it is legit.
Did
All
you
right.
have to submit something to get that?
I'm sorry?
Did you have to submit something to get those checks?
I don't think I did on that, but and of course what they do is when they do these lawsuits, because they have the full disclosure and everything, Apple has provided that information to them. It's too late to file if you hadn't, but if you were automatically enrolled in the class action, usually these class actions is you have to be active to opt out. You're usually included, and then that whatever that full settlement is split up amongst the participants, and that one's pretty substantial when you figure about what the prices of phones were at that point. So I don't want to get all political about all the class action stuff. So Barbara has a couple good questions here. She wanted a new external drive and she ordered the 1 terabyte SanDisk Extreme Go portable from Costco. It's quite small and looks different from the others. Does it get the MacNexus stamp of approval? Yes, it does. And if you get them now, but I would mention that there were some older versions and it's really small. It's gosh, I'm trying to describe. It's smaller than a Tic Tac and a little thinner than what Tic Tacs would be, and it's very nice.
2 by 4.
2 by 4. Nah, it's not 4 inches long.
It is.
The SSD,
I have 3 or 4 of those,
4 inches long.
Barbara, and
No way, and it's not 2 inches wide.
they're all about 3.5 inches long, and maybe
I got one right here.
I'll measure it.
You know what? Yeah, it's about 1.75 inches, and yeah, it's right. But it's this. But there is a version of these that they had some problems with, and they're doing warranties and stuff like that. So if you have one of those, SanDisk has a site where you can check your serial number and stuff. I checked all mine because I have a 2 terabyte and a 1 terabyte, and they weren't in it. It was in between, and there's just some failure rates in there. She also sent Schwab emailed a thing about respect to the annual meeting. Schwab sent it to her because she has Apple stock. She's wondering about voting for the stock for the board of directors. Frankly, for the most part, I think in the stocks that I have, I generally go with what the board of directors has, and I vote their slate on that if I vote. And you can do it, and it's nice because you can do this all online now. And believe it or not, with Apple stock, it used to be a way to get into the shareholder meeting down at Apple, the Apple campus, which I was able to get selected in the lottery for that twice, and that was very, very interesting. But since COVID, they haven't really done that. So
Opportunity to visit the mothership.
yeah, the newer one, which is great. Oh, and by the way, they did just recently close the original Apple store that was in the one that had all the T-shirts and stuff like that in the old Xfinity Loop, which was in the northern part of Cupertino now. But they have an actual regular Apple store at the Apple campus that anybody can go into. It's really neat. And it's the only Apple store that has all kinds of Apple products, but also swag. You can buy T-shirts, you can buy, different things like that. And they have really neat things there. And regardless, you're close enough, and you can see the 2 big circles and everything from there.
The reason I asked that question was because there are 5 proposals that were placed on for voting by shareholders, and the top management of Apple always on each one said board recommendation was vote against. And I've only had my Apple stock for about 5 years, and I just value the comments of people in this group, so that was why I asked. Usually I do what you do too.
Yeah,
I usually just go along with the team.
So generally speaking, to be able to put a comment or something to vote, you have to have 1 share. So you have these people that, quote, invest in Apple by buying 1 share, and then they want to get their point across. I can remember for years with Tesla, it was, why can't everything in the car be vegan instead of leather? Well, there's some applications where leather works better. Tesla, in the meantime, has gone completely vegan, but there's these radical shareholders that are trying to make a point. And yeah, I invest in a company. I believe in that company. Like a lot of them say, well, you should go buy back more stock, and you should return more on dividends and stuff. Well, as far as I'm concerned, if a company that I've decided to invest in, I believe in them enough that I think they can produce more money for my stock by doing the right thing and going forward and cementing their future than doing incremental things like giving dividends back and things like that. In a maturing company, there's times for that. But when it's a growth company, investing that money in growth is going to manifest itself over time more than it will the other way. Now, that's in normal companies, and it doesn't always work that way. But and it's like equity on the boards, and that's covered in California now anyway, with some of this ridiculous legislation that goes above and beyond. So if you have certain things that you believe in, and that's brought up there, yes, vote your will. But as far as I'm concerned, I'm less knowledgeable about that stuff than the board is, and I trust them for the most part. And if not, I wouldn't be investing in that company. And I look at stocks as an investment. I will never, ever short a stock, because shorting a stock is saying, I don't want that company to succeed. And I think that is so morally and unethical, because you're telling to not proceed, and you're just greedy, and you're trying to make money off that stock going down. And I'm sorry, I have to sleep at night. And this is my own, please, my own personal opinion. You're more than welcome to do it, but I just think that it's not the way that I want to make money.
I will say it was very interesting to go through the proxy vote. It was really, really long, but it had
And
a
I
lot of
commend
interesting
you for
information
doing
in
it.
it.
My gosh.
Yeah. And at the very
And
end, they
actually,
tell
at
who
the
the major shareholders are.
I'm sorry.
And at the very end of it, they tell who the major shareholders are, like the really big shareholders, investment companies and such. And one, I think, was like billions of shares.
Berkshire Hathaway.
Absolutely.
No, it was more than Berkshire Hathaway. Someone owns more. Yep.
Wow.
So they
look down at the very end, Al.
They're the institutional investors.
Yeah.
And they can vote either way too. But so the weird thing is, if you're at the shareholder meeting, the people that have the person that bought the one stock, and again, maybe it's 100, that gets up and has made this proposal, gets to speak of it, which is just, and again, it's like people that do graffiti. They just want to be seen. Okay. So it's fine. They do their due, but yeah. And it's like these people that invest in stock, and then the company does something they don't like. So, quote, as an investor, as an owner of that company, they sue the company. Well, you know what? You shouldn't have invested in the company. And I'm sorry. It's me, and it's these people that, yeah, anyway. All right. So that finished our Purple Max. I'm going to go really quick and finish up on the other, and we'll do the raffle here. So I want to share my screen because I have been fairly ill recently. I'm doing well. It turns out that steroids are the miracle medicine, but when I was basically housebound for almost a month, and I can go on and on about it, but I'm doing much better now. It'll be almost a 6-month recovery. It's a thing called, if you want to look it up, it's called PRM. It's they don't know how you get it, but it affects your joints and it affects your muscles, and it's really weird, but it's passing. But I wanted to bring out in that regard some things. This happened a couple months ago. You can now get your California driver's license on an app in your iPhone, and it's not accepted everywhere yet, but you can do that. So it looks like this, and it's quite easy. It goes through you'll actually take a picture of yourself and things like that. So it's quite easy, and it works well. Second thing is, I can't tell you enough. We've always stressed this. Please, please, please make sure you do your medical ID inside of your contacts, and you can do all of that. And Al will probably do a link to make sure you can get that set up, because it's really, really important. And the other thing is, health tracking and all that stuff is very critical for doctors when they do things. And your heart rate's always monitored with the watch. You can do sleep things. And the big thing is, the more data they have, the better. Because you walk into a doctor's office or you're in the ER, they take your blood pressure right then. Well, what's your blood pressure the rest of the time? Well, I have a blood pressure cuff that keeps that and stores it in my watch or in my phone for me. And the last thing I want to mention is a lifesaver for me, because this thing attacked my joints, and then after that it moved in and attacked my thigh muscles, where to get up out of a seat, out of the bed or out of the couch, I had to use my arm muscles because I had zero leg strength and I had extreme leg pain in my thighs. So to get up to go to the restroom or go get water from the kitchen or anything else, I could only get up using my arms. But my ceiling fan, my light in my room, my thermostat is all automated. So I didn't have to go up and do any of this. And during this thing, I would get cold sweats at night. So I was constantly adjusting my temperature. I normally keep my house at like 68 degrees in the winter and I'm comfortable. I had it up to 82 at some point, but I can do all of that from my phone. And I can't tell you, and I thought about this afterwards, how much difference that makes. So I'm telling you that as we age, automation can really help in many regards. And, I live alone, so obviously I don't have that. And the ability, so then the other thing is, once I got upright, skeletal strength took over and I didn't need my leg muscles. And luckily my balance is pretty good. But I made sure that every time I got up, I either had my watch with me or on my wrist or my iPhone with me, because what if I did fall? Then I can reach 911 or the watch will detect the fall. And it's just thinking ahead on that stuff. And it made it easy. The other thing is, many times 911 calls are generated in your restroom or in your shower. So don't be afraid to wear your Apple Watch in the shower if you have to call 911. So that's just kind of my PSA for this. And it got me thinking, and it makes me very, very glad. And all will be good. And what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. So, and the best part of it is I've lost 26 pounds. I had no desire to eat, and then I was already down because from that. And I go, well, I'll just keep this up. And being on steroids, your blood sugars spike. So I've gone on ultra low carb diet and I'm charting that and everything else. And so that and intermittent fasting. So I was already down 15 and the last 10 have just gone like this. So I'm keeping that up and lean and trim and, go from there. So there's a bright side to everything.
Get ready for the next trip.
Yeah. Well, and actually that was one of my first questions to the rheumatologist is, can I travel? She says, yeah, we just make sure you have prednisone with you. And then if it recurs, because PRN can recur. And PRN, now I've found I have quite a few friends. So if you're ever feeling where your muscles start aching, where you feel like you've been hit by a truck, you have no other flu-like symptoms, and your joints just plain hurt, get to the ER. I went twice. And here's the state of our medicine these days. I was at Sutter and they treated me well there, but they can't find a rheumatologist to consult with to find out this particular disease. They can't tell what it is, but they do some other tests and can say, well, that looks like it. And my first so this, I went to the ER Christmas Day. I was in for 3 days. They said, okay, well, you got to go see your primary and get a referral. My first referral to a rheumatologist was going to be March 23rd. And here's a person who was bedridden at that point. Luckily, those symptoms kind of passed. So luckily, a client of mine that's been an Apple client of mine forever is a pulmonologist. And I was shaking my network tree all over the place. And I really hate leveraging that. But he found somebody that could see me within 3 days. And she gave me steroids that day, and I was feeling better. It was hugely improved by that night. Otherwise, I would have been till March. So I'm sorry, and thank you for indulging me. Lisa, Lisa and Mary, what are our two numbers, please?
For the Zoom attendees, it's 39.
Thank you.
And Mary, what's the all member?
You're muted, Mary.
All members 262.
262. And because I've had brain fog during this whole time, we do 4 25s. We do 2 100s to the audience and 1 100 to the general membership, correct?
Correct.
Got it. Thank you. So I will have Siri choose a number for us, and we'll do them as we go. If for some reason I slur my speech and I can see on the screen if it didn't do the number correctly, that one's thrown out. And we will do it again. If you win one prize, say a 25, and then you come back and win 100, we take one of those back. We know which one you're going to do. But also then the last one, which is for the entire membership, will be a different set of numbers because it's based on the whole membership. And if you win in the early one, you can win in that too because you're not excluded. So going forward, give me a random number between 1 and 39.
It's 25.
25. Lisa.
25 is Mary Wanschneider.
Oh my gosh, congratulations, Mary.
Thank you.
Give me a random number between 1 and 39.
That would be 35.
35.
35 is Roy Chastain.
Congratulations, Roy. 2 more to go on the 25 Amazon gift cards. Give me a random number between 1 and 39.
It's 7.
7. Lucky number 7.
7
Craps.
is Carol Becker.
Carol Becker, congratulations. And the last of the 25s, give me a random number between 1 and 39.
It's 18.
18. Boy, we kind of hit all across the...
18 is Jennifer Kerr.
Thank you, Jennifer. Congratulations. So now we're going to do the
Thank
two...
you.
You're welcome. The 2 $100 gift cards. Give me a random number between 1 and 39.
It's 17.
17, right next to the 18 we just had.
Jane Hunter.
Jane Hunter, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Give me a random number between 1 and 39.
The answer is 21.
21.
21, Keith McMahon.
Congratulations, Keith.
Wow, thank you very much.
$100 Amazon gift card. Had you already ordered that phone mount?
Yeah, I did. It came in the
Oh,
mail.
well, it'll go on your account.
Okay.
All right. So now we do the entire membership and the person does not have to be present. And I emailed that, and you'll get an email this evening. Lisa and Mary give me the emails for everybody, and I put that in. And I always make sure on the one, if it's the person who wasn't here, that I send an email ahead of time saying you're going to get this email from Amazon. It's not a scam. So it'll be between 1 and 262. So give me a random number between 1 and 262.
That would be 206.
206. And Mary has this list, I believe.
Yeah, 206. Pete McDonough. McDonough? Is that how I'm
Pete
saying
McDonough,
it?
I believe. Yeah. All right.
Thank you.
He was here. Yeah. Nice,
Oh, you're here.
Pete.
So you'll know it's not a scam when you get it. So
Thank you very much.
and anybody else, there was one person that we were going to try fix the thing. Was that you, Bev? But we've kind of got a solution, right?
Or about what on the
On the
TV?
search for the mail, was it?
No, that was Joe.
That was Joe Ellen.
Oh, Joellen. And what was your thing, Bev?
Oh, mine was Apple TV, but I also now those DMV apps, California DMVs, the California is not allowing us to use the phone picture as for our license, is it?
Yes.
Oh.
It's not a phone picture. It's a
They are now.
DMV app.
Okay,
And-
I downloaded both of them.
Well, there's only one.
Okay, well, I'll put in a thingy with a couple. So it's just the California DMV.
Yeah,
the
and it'll
blue?
go and you'll get authorized on it. I mean, it's going to make sure it's a
Okay.
picture of you and all this other stuff. And it seems a bit intrusive, but it's great. Now, they're kind of hedging their bets and saying, well, this might not work if you get pulled over or whatever. But I think for all intents and purposes, it does. But you can read on there, just read about it, the limitations. It's not, it's
evolving.
non-committal. So,
Okay, well, good. Yeah.
any
So
other
it's the,
questions?
DMV blue banner one.
Might
I've
having
got
trouble
one if you can hear me.
All right.
Ken?
Anybody else? I'm sorry. Who? What?
Dick Warner here.
Hi, Dick.
I've been having Safari lock up quite frequently. Any suggestions?
On your Mac? On your
Yes.
Macintosh or on an Apple? Okay. Are you
On a
running
Macintosh.
what OS are you running?
Ventura.
Huh. And let me look.
Whenever
And are you
Where
running
I
an M1?
put
Are you
it
running
on the
an
same
Intel or an
page
M1
works.
Mac? Huh?
M1.
M1. Yeah, so there's no zapping of the param or reset SMU. What I'm going to look for here is, and I'm not sure if you can do it. Let me just look.
I've been thinking about trying Firefox again because of that problem.
Well, yeah, and Firefox is quite good. And as an alternative to that, there's one called Brave. And is it only on certain sites or is it?
I haven't observed that yet.
Okay, here's 3 recommendations. Because what I did first here is I went to the App Store to see if you could download Safari in the browser, but you can't. And it's because it's so implicitly linked to the operating system. Whereas if you could download it separately, you would delete it and then redo it. But here's 3 things to try. You can go into Safari settings and we want to get rid of the cache and the cookies and even do a reset. So the first thing you could try is quit Safari completely on your computer. Restart your computer and hold down the shift key when you fire up Safari. It's kind of like purging the pram, for lack of a better description. And I would do that and see if it makes it better. And then the other thing is I would search in the up in the preferences and look under privacies and stuff. And you want to get rid of cache, and that could be holding it up. And actually, one telltale thing, you can go into Activity Monitor and see how much CPU and how much memory Safari's using in the RAM.
Okay, I'll give it
But
a try.
something's gobbed up. Oh, the other thing is make sure you don't have any extensions on.
I never use extensions in Safari.
Yeah, good. Other than that, have you run a Malwarebytes
Just today.
and came back
Nothing.
clean? Yeah, interesting. The only other thing I could think of is if there's a profile. And I believe that's in.
What kind of profile?
Well, they do. You can make these profiles now, and I don't mean in Safari, but hang on. It's a.
I don't think you can do that back in Ventura, can he?
Yeah, I think you're right.
No, it's not the profile for Safaris. It's like on our Apple devices, you could download like a profile that does different things. It's a
I have
configuration.
not done that.
Yeah, I don't have any profiles installed, but you would go in settings. I just did a search for profile and I came up and it says install, view, or remove configuration profiles. Those are generally installed nefariously, and it's kind of like there were some where an old weather app would always pop up, but it's harvesting your clicks and things like that. So other than that, I don't have an answer for you.
How do you get rid of cookies, did you say?
You know, I'm in Sonoma and I don't see it, so I would Google
Yeah.
it and see how they're saying to do it, because
Okay.
you know they changed a lot in Ventura and Sonoma. I believe
That
that
was
it's
my
with,
other question, is about going to Sonoma. As you just heard, I'm still using Ventura. I tried to help somebody out a couple of days ago that has Sonoma, and I just couldn't find out how to figure out to run the computer.
Yeah, I'm of the volition that if it ain't broken, don't fix it. There were some features in Sonoma I wanted, and because I need to also talk about it, I did it reluctantly, and I've been pretty happy with it. And what was it? What was before Sonoma? Wasn't it Ventura?
Yes.
Yeah, and to be honest, Ventura always seemed to have some warts that just made it that I didn't want to do it. But yeah, and the other thing is though, I have to say, Sonoma's interface has gotten for settings and everything else much closer to the iPad, which I kind of lament, but I also think it's good because you only have to learn it once now kind of situation. But I'm not saying it's the best, but yeah. I don't know, Dick. If all those other things don't work, and I would give Sonoma, because it's going to be a different browser, and I'd see if that fixes it, but I don't know that it would. And the other thing, Google exactly how you said, Safari locks up in Ventura and see what you find.
Okay.
But again, the Brave browser is kind of a Chrome type equivalent, and Firefox, I think, is a really good browser. I read something recently that Opera might still be around too. So, and regardless, and first of all, you guys, on your Mac, please don't use Chrome unless you have to. There's a lot of stuff it does in the background. It's a huge media hog. And there are alternatives to that you can use if for some reason the lazy web designer has not made it so it works well with Safari. So, and that happens. So
I'm embarrassed to ask, but how do I get to all these links that Al keeps sending us?
So what will happen is when you quit Zoom today, it'll pop up and you'll get a little window and it'll say text. But Al gets the PDF and puts it together and gets it to Bob, and Bob distributes it in the next email blast. And it's great, and you'll see that there.
If you need it right away,
okay.
At the top there, you see this three little dots there. You can just pull that down. It says save chat, and it'll save it as a generic text file. So
I do not see any three little dots.
No, it might be on the bottom of your screen where your microphone and all that is, the three dots under more.
If you go to the chat, pull down the at the bottom there where it says chat, and you see the chat window, you click on it and you'll see a chat.
Yeah, okay, I see that.
At the very top of there, to the right-hand corner, there's three dots. If you click on that,
on the bottom on my screen
there.
Mine's in the bottom at the
it depends what version of Zoom you're running.
It's under the blue everyone button.
It
on mine
with a certain Zoom.
So it's either in the upper right or the lower right.
Yeah. If you have more.
But when you leave the meeting, on my computer, a Finder window pops up and it says text and something like that, and it's a rich text document. And Al does a much better job when he cleans this up and it comes as a PDF, but all of those links will be there.
Yeah. With the PDF I create, all the links are live. So you just have to click on them. But if you save the chat, it's just a generic text file. So, I mean, you go down to whatever it is you're interested in and then just highlight the link, and then you paste that in your browser and you can go wherever
and actually sometimes you can just click on it and it's a hot link.
So, how do you save the chat?
Like we're seeing on my version of Zoom.
Did you open your chat window, Dick?
No, you don't. At the bottom,
there's the chat window open. Yes.
Okay.
Okay. With the chat window open, do you see three dots at the top?
I do. Right-hand corner. Well, on the most recent version of Zoom, it's in the upper right-hand corner. In the older versions, it was in the lower, the three dots.
And once you click it, it says save chat.
I see it to the right of how to clear cookies on a Mac. So if
Well,
I
that's a
click on that-
website.
Oh, copy. Okay.
No.
So if I copy that, then I can paste it into a Pages document?
Yeah, yeah. If you whatever your browser of choice is.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Fantastic. Anybody? Go ahead, Elaine.
Yeah, so I've been using Chrome on my Mac for a long time, and I don't know why. It was the default one, whatever.
Well,
But
sometimes when the operating system got so old that Safari wouldn't go to certain websites, like secure websites and stuff, you needed to use Chrome as an alternative. So it's not bad. That's fine.
if I were
But your
to
question,
switch to Safari, would everything I've bookmarked in Chrome transfer over? How does that work?
yeah, you can export and import the bookmarks. But now, what operating system are you on? Would be the first.
I'm still on an old computer, and I'm still on an older.
Yeah, so I would say if you're using Chrome now, continue to. And as an alternative to that, Firefox would be a good alternative to have just as a backup. And then when you do Firefox the first time, it'll say, do you want to import bookmarks? But I have a feeling that you're going to be a little bit hamstrung if you use Safari, because web designers or security guys at these companies, banks, hospitals, things like that, they say, oh my gosh, she's running this old version of Safari. Because no matter whatever website you go to, it tells you what version of whatever browser you have. And that's how it checks in, because it may know how to display the web page differently. But they perceive that it's not safe anymore because it's so old. So they won't even let you see anything.
So I'm planning to get a new upgraded computer. I'm going to get a new MacBook Pro. I can transfer all my bookmarks in Chrome to the new computer. And then would it be easier to go into Safari on the new computer to import all my bookmarks?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. And one of them calls them favorites. The other one calls bookmarks and things like that.
Okay.
And then the other thing is, are you doing, because the Mac, and just to let you know, and I want you to run the full gamut, because, and I really love the MacBook Pro. I love the 14-inch. I almost got the 16-inch, but since I travel so much, luckily I waited when the 14 and the 16 came out. And because it would have, if I'd ordered it right then, it would have arrived while I was on a trip to Morocco, Jordan, and Egypt. Well, on that trip, even though I wanted the 16, I realized that in the majority of the hotel rooms, the 16 would not have had fit in the safe. And the 14 was just as powerful. So I'm super happy that I got the 14. But that being said, MacBook Airs used to be very pedestrian machines. They were like low end. The MacBook Airs with the M2 chips now and things like that are very capable. And I would say, unless you're doing big photographs or doing big videos and things, give it a second look, because their value is very good. And the other thing you need to do, like with your current one, you would go to the Apple logo, go to About This Mac, and then click on storage and see how much storage space you need, because that's going to be the big factor. Because you can't upgrade the storage in your old MacBook. You could, but you can't upgrade the storage space on any of the new MacBook Airs, because it's right on the chip. But
are the new MacBook Airs pretty good workhorses?
Yeah, they are. And I mean, tell me what your main uses of your computer are.
Email, looking at photos. I don't doctor them or anything. Streaming stuff online, looking at stuff on YouTube.
Sure.
I don't game, so I don't need the bandwidth.
I think
a lot of Zooms.
I think you would be fine. I mean, I never used to say this about the MacBook Air because it was very underwhelming.
Yeah.
The M chip, and they have different ones. It makes a difference. And then what I would look at is, And the price difference is substantial. And do you travel with yours?
Yes.
It's so much lighter than the 14-inch. For me, I need the power of the 14-inch because of the size of the photos that I work on. Other than that, I would love to travel with a MacBook Air. And the battery life is great and everything else. So I would look at that, and I think they make a 13 and a 15 now. But look at, again, your choices are always, what kind of processor do you want? How much RAM do you need? And how much storage space do you need? And I would say that you could bump the RAM up a little bit on the MacBook Air, and it'd probably be virtually as capable as the 14 or the MacBook Pros for what you're doing. So give it a consideration. Look at the ergonomics of them too, and you know, I'm happy to recommend that.
Ken?
Yeah, go ahead.
A question again. We're talking about Sonoma. Last time you were talking about the tax issue or tax program in reference to, I'm in Ventura right now and thinking about moving over.
I believe the question last time, if I'm not mistaken, and I was pretty much in a fog that time, was they were moving, or I think that the tax program they were using required a newer operating system, wasn't it?
I had to move. Yeah, I had to go to a new operating
Was that
system.
you that asked the question?
Yeah, it was. And you came up and said, you know, there was a question about moving to Sonoma in reference to the tax program or our, I guess, storage of our previous. And so, I mean, I use TurboTax, and I decided not to move over to Sonoma.
But didn't you get something about you had to upgrade your operating system from TurboTax or something?
I got it previously, and I upgraded it to Sonoma, but not this year. It was the previous year, I think it was, or year before.
Okay.
But
yeah, I'll tell you that brings up a good point. Unless I had my taxes done already, I wouldn't do any of these big changes.
Yeah.
So I have a guy do mine, but I mean, I gather all my stuff, but
I have a guy do mine. It's called me.
yeah. Well, my guy's my financial planner too. So
Yeah.
it kind of.
Well, so move over, and then it wouldn't affect the previous tax.
Well, to be able to run it might possibly, but see, if all of your old stuff is imported into the new one and the new one works in Sonoma, then you're fine. But I still would say, you know what? Wait until I'm done with tax stuff, because that's not when you want to be scrambling around.
Yeah. Okay.
Because all these tax programs are so easy to use and they support the Mac so heavily, you know.
Right. Well, the only time I change to a new Mac when it says you need to upgrade and my system won't go any farther. So then I get a new one. So okay, thanks.
And the prices are great. I mean, I'll tell you, Apple's got some really, really good aggressive pricing. And I should mention, everyone can buy from the Apple Education Store. They don't require any stuff. Apple really just does this so that their retailers are protected on retail price. So to get into the Education Store, I always search for Apple Pro bundle, and it comes up with this big Final Cut bundle. And from there, you can go up to Mac and you're in the Apple Store or the Education Store. So, and there's the military, and there's the what was the other one? The government one. So, all right, we've got 3 more questions here. Mary, go ahead.
Lisa.
Sorry, Lisa. I'm looking at Mary's picture, and Lisa has her hand up.
It's a guess. I read an article, and I can't remember if I read it on Mac Rumors or then when I went to Mac Rumors, they had a similar article. But it's about the rumor that Apple will release or could release the Air with an M3 chip in June, July of this year. The MacBook Air with an M3 chip.
You know, Al's probably up to speed on that better than I am. And the one thing, there's there's two guys that you can pretty much take the rumors to the bank is Mark Gurman and Ku Min Chu or whatever it is.
Yeah.
But
Ming Chi
they're
Kuo.
both very good. But you know, the rumors are out there and they do that. And, you know, it's one of those things where if you go buy it tomorrow, the new one will come out days after.
Absolutely. That's guaranteed. That's
Yeah.
by next Thursday, the new one will be out.
And I think they have a 14-day return policy. So, you
Something
know,
like that. Yeah.
You can be in analysis paralysis and never do anything.
Yeah.
And then
Right.
you'll never get burnt, or you can go, but it's not like all of a sudden the M2 is like, you know, dishwater.
Yeah,
No.
it's very capable.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
comes down to, you know, how many ports you want, you know, what
Well,
your other
I
needs are.
figured they found out that I had finally made a decision, so I have to put something
yeah.
up there to shake that up.
They're messing with you.
Pretty much. Thank you.
Thank you. Roy, go right ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment, add to yours. My wife has the Air and she can slip it into her purse, which goes to meetings or whatever. It's light, it's really handy. I used to have a 17-inch that I swear broke my back. I mean, that was horrible. I loved the machine until it died. And so I bought a 15 and I wish it's still too heavy. So I think the Air is going to be in my next purchase.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
there's a big difference when you travel.
Yeah, and I've been tempted to even just get an Air to travel with because, see, I went from having a MacBook Pro, 15-inch MacBook Pro, and a 27-inch iMac to running just the 14-inch because the laptops are so capable that I have two monitors hooked to mine. I have all kinds of extra peripherals, and I have my external keyboard and mouse. So my 14-inch MacBook Pro is operating like my iMac was. And then I can take it with me. And it's great for when I do presentations and stuff. But
yeah,
you know, it's in traveling a lot that, you know, and I only need to take my laptop for processing pictures because otherwise I use my iPad mini all the time. So
the M series Apple
and
Silicon.
you have to analyze all these ergonomic situations like that. Go, Al, what was your thing?
Just that the M series Apple Silicon is just, you know, it's just such a bump in performance. It makes everything pretty capable. You know, it's such a leap from the Intel chips. It's
and
and
the
day.
battery life is twice
the battery
as long.
life, and you know the.
And if you think about it, it's based on the chip in the iPhone and the iPad, which don't have fans and have long battery life.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're running one of the fastest computers in the world with it.
Yep.
Barbara, go right ahead.
Yes, I have a 15-inch MacBook Pro, which I love, but it's no longer updatable. And I don't know if you remember or not, but I have two houses and I also have an iMac in the other house.
Yeah.
And what I wanted to know is, can I update the iMac to Sonoma and still have the Pro running on Monterey? Will they still talk to each other? I have everything in the cloud.
Well, that's what I'm going to say. So none of your Apple devices talk directly to one another. They all talk through iCloud.
The cloud, yeah.
iCloud is that intermediary. It's the gatekeeper. So the information is there because I think we set yours up where your documents in your desktop are on the cloud and your photos are on the cloud. So basically everything's a mirror. And this kind of goes, it's funny because, well, we just talked about having, you know, me maybe getting a MacBook Air to go with my MacBook Pro or something like that. That used to be a problem because it used to be, oh my gosh, I'm going somewhere. Are my files on this machine or are they on the other one? Well, with the syncing involved now, the beauty is they're in the cloud and they're on both. So in your case, yes, it should. And you're running what'd you say was this other operating system?
Monterey.
Yeah, you're fine on that. So you shouldn't have any problems at all. And because they interact. So I think you're good in that regard.
It's been just an excellent computer. I haven't had any problems with it, but
Yeah.
it makes me sad that I can't update it. But also, I appreciate you bringing to our attention the tax season, because I am doing my own taxes on TurboTax. So if I do get a MacBook Air, I won't do anything until after tax season's over. But in relation to my question, what about that Word program that I use? Will that be affected?
You use Word?
Yeah, that thing.
And no, you said that Word program. I wanted to make sure
Yeah.
it was Word.
Well, Word. It's just.
So
it's,
are you
it's,
using it
you
on
know,
the
one that I
newer-
bought from the Apple Store. That.
Yeah. So
would that
the
be
the deal
affected by
is-
updating?
Well, you
to
may have to update it, but
Sonoma?
here's the deal. There are many places out there you can get what seem to be legitimate copies of Microsoft Office standalone for under $50. And it's weird, but they're there and they work, and it does not seem to be that they are pirated. I think it's just they do it because Microsoft is trying to push everybody into the subscription model.
Yeah, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, and more than likely those ones you get, you could have installed on two different computers because your two computers are not in the same, well, you already have one. So your computers are never on the same network. So you might even be able to install the version you have for the one computer that you bought on the other computer. Because what Microsoft used to do, I don't know if they still do it, but you would have
No. I have the Word on both. I
right,
can use
but
the
if your
Word
Word is
program on
really
both of
old,
them.
if your Word is really old, it may not go forward, is what I was saying. But
Oh, you mean on a MacBook Air?
Monterey. Yeah, you're on Monterey, so I'm not sure. But what I'm saying is that it used to be where if you had Word fired up on, if you have two machines, you have Word fired up on one, it goes over the network and says, oh no, you can't fire it up on this one. It's open on the other one. You close it on that computer and then it opens. So I don't know how that goes, but
okay.
Wait until you're needing to do
I'll
it.
worry about
Do
that.
some research.
Okay.
All right.
Thank you.
Last question is Bev. Go right ahead.
Just a comment more. I successfully, while all this was going on, downloaded the application on the DMV wallet. And it did say that they were limited number, like 15 million. So I don't know how far that goes before they, this sample thing. So I have no clue how fast 15 million.
Well, gosh, you better go now.
You better
Yeah,
hurry.
yeah. Well, I actually, someone that's not of greatest skill actually successfully did it. So it's a pretty easy.
Yeah, it's weird how they do the picture and everything else, and it's overcomplicated, but it works and it satisfies them, so that satisfies me.
Yeah, I'm just in a waiting period for them to verify. So yeah. So thanks for that.
So Mary and Lisa, whenever you guys can get the email, I would appreciate it. And anybody, anything else? Well, cool. Stay out of the rain. Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks, Ken.
And don't forget, if you want the chat, when it closes, it'll show up, but Al and Bob will get it together for everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Ken. See y'all later.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ken.
Stay safe out there.
You're welcome. Thanks, Al, too.
Healthy.
Glad you're
And-
feeling better. So yeah.
Yep.